Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Namam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the writings of the conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance to the Narayan Rishi, supposed human being, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Reshu Andareshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Neshiki. Directly attendance to the classes of the Bhagavatam and attending the services of your husband. All that is service of the Bhagavatam for those who may be first. And please service to the personality of God, which was raised with answer to the songs. It's just the irrevocable fact. Om Jnana-Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. And that's it, right? Okay. Today, we are looking at the Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto. And I need some guidance here.
Chapter 5.
Chapter 5. Chapter 5, text.
Start of text. 27.
27.
We're reading 4 translations, 23 to 27.
Okay, being thirsty one night. What are we doing here? We're starting? We're reading together? Oh, we were just waiting. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, get 64 rounds done. Are you okay with that? You can sit here if you like. Yeah, you set this up so expertly, so yeah. Take your, yeah. Yeah, very nice. Oh, Sister Radhika for Gopinath Ki. Aren't they the most beautiful deities in the world?
Yes.
Undeniably so. Haribol. I was just thinking to do this.
Yes.
Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We got a dozen people. A little bit low in number, but 12 Mahajans, right? Shiva, Janaka, the Kumaras, Prahlad, we choose them all. All right. Om. That's what it's telling me.
You can start, we can open it in our phones.
Okay, so it's 27, all right? Being thirsty one night, the king entered the arena of sacrifice. When he saw all the Brahmins lying down, he personally drank the sanctified water meant to be drunk by his wife. When the Brahmin... am I doing something wrong?
I think it's 9.5.
Oh, I'm on number 6, sorry. It's 23.
27. We are reading 27.
Okay, so here we are. Durvasa Muni had left the place of Maharaj Ambarish, and as long as he had not returned for 1 complete year, the king had fasted, maintaining himself simply by drinking water. After 1 year, when Durvasa Muni had returned, King Ambarish sumptuously fed him all variety of food, and then he himself also ate. When the king saw that the Brahman Durvasa had been released from the great danger of being burned, he could understand that by the grace of the Lord, he himself was also powerful, but he did not take any credit, for everything has been done by the Lord. In this way, because of devotional service, Maharaj Ambarish, who was endowed with varieties of transcendental qualities, was completely aware of Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus he executed devotional service perfectly. Because of his devotion, he thought even topmost planet of this material world no better than the hellish planets. Srila Shukadeva Goswami continued. Thereafter, because of his advanced position in devotional life, Maharaj Ambarish, who no longer desired to live with material things, retired from active family life. He divided his property among his sons, who were equally as qualified, and he himself took the order of Vanaprastha and went to the forest to concentrate his mind fully upon Lord Vasudeva. Anyone who chants this narration or even thinks of this narration about the activities of Maharaj Ambarish certainly becomes a pure devotee of the Lord. Hare Krishna. And we might as well do the last verse, right?
Yes.
Text 20. By the grace of the Lord, those who hear about the activities of Maharaj Ambarish, the great devotee, certainly becomes liberated or become devotees without delay. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 9th canto, 5th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Durvasa Muni's Life Spared. Okay, great. So we're looking at 27 then, okay? Iti tat punya akyanam Ambarishasya bhupate Sankirtanyan anudyayan Bhakto bhagavato bhavet
Iti etat punyam akyanam
Idieta punyam akyanam
Ambarishasya bhupate
Ambarishas bhupate
Sankirtayan anudhyayan
Sankirtayan anudyayan
Bhakto bhagavato bhavet.
Bhagavato bhavet Ityetat punya akyanam
Ambarishasya bhupate
Ambarishas bhupate Sankirtayan anudyayan
Bhakto bhagavato bhavet.
Bhakto bhagavato bhavet
Iti etat punyam akyanam
Ityetat punya akyanam
Amrishasya bhupate.
Ambarishasya bhupate
Sankirtayan anudyayan.
Sankirtayan anudyayan
Bhakto bhagavato bhavet.
Bhagavato bhavet Iti thus Etat this Punyam Akyanam most pious activity in history Ambarishasya of Maharaj Ambarish Bhupate O King Maharaj Parikshit Sankirtayan by chanting, repeating Anudyayan or by meditating upon Bhaktaha a devotee Bhagavataha of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Bhavet one can become. Translation. Anyone who chants this narration or even thinks of this narration about the activities of Maharaj Ambarish certainly becomes a pure devotee of the Lord. Chai, Hare Krishna. And the purport, we'll charade it out, okay? Everyone's favorite activity for the whole day. Okay, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur herein gives a very good example. When one is very
Enthusiastic. Eager.
For more and more money, he is not satisfied, even when he is a millionaire or a multimillionaire, but wants to earn more and
More
Money.
by any means. The same mentality. What a pity. Is present in a devotee. The devotee is never satisfied, thinking, this is the limit of my devotional service. The more he engages in the service of the Lord, the more service he wants to give. This is the position of a devotee. Maharaj Ambarish, in his family life, was certainly a pure, complete in every respect, because his and all his senses were in devotional Savaimana Krishna Pararavindayo Vachansi Vaikunta Gunana Varanane. Maharaj Ambarish was self-satisfied because all of his senses were in devotional service. Sarvopadi Vinira Muktam Tat Paradvina Nirmalam Rishikina Rishikesa Sevanam Bhaktir Uchite. Nonetheless, although Maharaj Ambarish had engaged all his in devotional service, he left his home and went to the
Forest.
to
See. 90.
concentrate his mind fully in the lotus feet of
Krishna.
exactly as a mercantile man, even though complete in wealth, tries to earn more and more. This mentality of getting more and more engaged in devotional service puts one in the most exalted position. Whereas on the karma platform, the mercantile man who wants more and
More.
money becomes increasingly bound and entangled. I wonder how that looks on the screen. The devotee becomes increasingly
Happy. Satisfied. Translate.
Ecstatic. Amused.
Unstable. Shocked.
Ecstatic.
Shocked.
give me an L,
Amazed.
L, liberated. See? Okay, great. Okay, so basically, yeah, we're talking about greed. Greed is the subject, wanting more and more. Okay. Okay, here's the line for greed. Okay. Hey, how's it going, Kalaji? Play it again, Sam. Okay, of all your foremen, I truly am the foremost. Respond. Okay. You don't like it, so okay. I truly am the foremost.
I'm seen at the foremost.
Good, so because I put out some money here, so everyone stops. Like a faithful gardener, I lavishly tend the seeds that are sown under your regime. Your Majesty, whatever they may be within the universe, to satisfy one's desires can never satisfy me. Though a man has everything, under my influence, he wants more. With discontent by my side, I sap the very vitality of human life. Right? That's what greed does. It just saps you, sucks you dry, right? Where I reside, rest assured, happiness will never dare show its face. 1 foot through the, well, okay. 1 gate through the gate, 1 foot through the gate of hell, my prisoner thinks. So much wealth. This is from chapter 16, from Bhagavad Gita. So much wealth do I have today. It will increase according to my schemes. Right? One is always scheming. Thus he works like an ass. Like a what?
Ass.
An ass. Day in
Day out.
and day out. Day in and day out. And overtime. Rushing about at breakneck speed, full of anxiety, convinced that he's free. When in truth, he's working for me. Okay, no matter how much he strives, no matter what he achieves, it will never suffice. He takes to stealing and cheating even from his friends. Hello, darling. Hare Krishna, okay. So this is it. And there's more lines for greed, but it pretty much fits this kind of description here. Now, Ambarish Maharaj was a self-satisfied person. We have a term for this called Atmarama. Maybe you know some devotees by that name. It's beautiful. Atma means the self. Rama, satisfied. When we chant Rama, we're actually getting satisfied. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There's a joy or satisfaction that comes from chanting Krishna's name and engaging in devotional service. So that's pretty much a great description of Ambarish. Of course, he had everything, and so he didn't need to crave for more. Kings have everything, and they don't. So they should be, if you're kind of saturated with materialism, then you should be moving to the next step. Said, I don't want it anymore. I've already had it. I've got my full. I've been there. I've done that, right? So then liberation is the next step, There's dharma, artha, kama, moksha, okay? Dharma means let's be religious. Let's be nice to God. God is great. God is good. My dear Lord, thank you for this food. Blah. Amen. Blah, blah, blah. Okay? I mean it not disrespectfully. God is great. God is good. Let us thank him for our food. Amen. Okay, so gratitude. It's great. Now, after being religious, you know what usually happens? By being nice, by being kind, by being a good worshiper, you get some result. Or let's say that's number 3. But you aspire for acquiescing, you want to accumulate. You want to establish yourself financially. That's what's done. So that's kama, trying to satisfy desires. Dharma, artha, establishing yourself financially. Kama is when you enjoy the fruits. Now people are supposed to be, putting their seeds in the ground like today, It's supposed to be officially, the time to, according to the Farmer's Almanac, around here you're supposed to plant, but I don't know. It just seems like winter's coming back. Yeah, it's just like a very strange year. And then after a month or 2, you'll see the fruits. You'll enjoy it. It could be flowers, and it could even be fruits. And then it's flavorful because it comes from the ground nearby. It's local, organic, hopefully, no pesticides, etc. So it's really, it's good quality sense gratification you're getting out of this, enjoying the fruits, right? Okay. So, but the point is, how many fruits can you have? How many? Sometimes I see the fruit salad bowl or tray. It's like so full, and you say, "Really? Are we going to invite Roxborough Street like everybody to have it?" It gets kind of sometimes wasted. I suggest blend it up and make it the best fruit juice that you can, instead of giving it to the raccoons. Okay, so fruits. This is what everybody's looking for. We're looking for some nice results. But then after you've had your fill, after it's saturated, your senses, your mind, everything's satisfied. I've done it. Like you have to understand what it means to be a sannyasi sometimes. Everywhere you go, people want to do some seva for you. And it's not always, oh, Maharaj is coming, let's go distribute books. No, Maharaj is coming, let's cook. They want to make these big meals that every 2 hours or 3 hours, they put something in front of your face. I've had these thalis, and the place that champions it all is a place called Fiji. They've got subjis there you'll find anywhere else in the world practically. Anyways, there's a thali. Like it's got, a dozen or so katoris, full of stuff. That's the first thali. You can understand the danger now. And next one comes. I have this method where, you almost have to be like a kshatriya, because when they start coming with all this stuff, and then the desserts come after that. But I have a technique. After I finish a katori, I put it upside down. And there's something that I just can't take, like, Karela. I'll take 3 rings and that's it. I'll put it to the side, right? No rice, that is for me. And I put it aside to make it very clear, no, I can't take these things, okay? Then, just when you're about to finish one katori, a hand comes with a ladle, and, so that's why, and when it comes even to the forks and spoons, I flip them upside down, right? And then at some point you have to just cover your, And then when it comes to the sweets, it's that I can't. My mother, she died from diabetes, and it's hereditary. That's when they stop. We mentioned something about your mother, and she died. Then then they start backing off. I asked Kadambakanda Maharaj, how do you deal with that? Is it bring lots of disciples, so that you could have. In fact, that's one thing you have to do at the host's house when they come and they turn around to get more stuff. You just kind of just distribute the things they give it out to people, and said, "Oh, you eat fast." They turn around. Oh yes. It's like a game, and it's just it's difficult. It's very difficult sometimes. So I'm just saying that. Yeah, I thought there was something wrong. A superior service to the Swamis is to see what we can do to spread Krishna consciousness. Let's talk about going to High Park and before or after or during the cherry blossom season. It doesn't matter. Let's see how many books we can get in the van and see if we can distribute them somewhere. Let's go to door. That would make the sannyasi happier. Let's have a meeting. Let's talk about, opening up a new center. Prabhupada was into numbers. He was into books, numbers for how many devotees did you make, how many temples did you open up, etc., etc. How many rounds did you chant? How many books did you read? That kind of stuff. How many books did you publish? How many books did you write? Prabhupada was for expansion, And that's the mindset. Like, we shouldn't get too relaxed and we shouldn't get complacent. And since we're talking about scripts this morning, in the story of Vamana, we gave the lines to Shukracharya. And when he's talking to Bali, he was saying complacency. He was trying to warn him, something's going to happen and it's negative, a child is born to the demigods and he's going to take everything away. Then later on said, complacency is anyone's worst enemy. You understand what we're saying? When you get relaxed, that's the time that something's going to happen. And the story of the churning of the ocean of milk is just like that. The demigods had everything, then they had nothing. And the Devatas were they were devoid of their opulence that naturally comes to them. It was taken by the Asuras. The Asuras enjoyed it, and they got relaxed. And then when you get relaxed, you get weak. That's the point, you know. That's why it's an enemy, you know, to get relaxed. So many things coming at you, and so people tend to be like that. Strength comes from tapasya, from discipline, from having less, actually. Having less is a better way to go. It really is. And that's when less is more. You know, you've heard the phrase. We've mentioned it a few times before. So Ambarish is one of those persons. Less is more. He realized that more is less, and now it's time, less is more. Now it's time for him. Durvasa Muni, although he's the Brahmin, he's supposed to be the guide, or the god. I remember we went with the youth bus tour to Pennsylvania. We went whitewater rafting and on one of the rivers, and it is, believe me, it is so much fun, whitewater rafting. And in Pennsylvania, the guys, they tell you, first you have to sign a waiver in case there's any problem, you know, that they're not responsible, necessarily the institution that runs the opera, in case, you know, you might fall, hit a rock or something, bleed to death. And they want you to have signed a document. So anyways, these guys, they're from Pennsylvania. Their accent is a little different than what we have up here. So they kept saying, God, you got to watch the gods. I said, watch the gods? Have they been reading the Bhagavatam or something? Watch for the god, the rock. You're going to come to the rock and just watch the god. There's going to be a god there, and he'll point which way to go, which way to oar your way out. I says, I figured out later on. It was just saying guide. So God guides. God guides. Krishna guides us. Dharman tu sakshat bhagavat parinitam, which means that Vishnu, or God, is, you know, giving religious guidelines for all of us to protect us. That's the purpose. Now, neither is Ambarish nor Durvasa God. They are Jiva Tattva, right? We are all Jiva Tattvas. Anybody disagree with that? Do we have any Vishnu Tattvas here? Okay, we're Jiva Tattvas. We're in the category. There's Swangsha and Vibhinangsha, right? Swangsha means
One and the same.
An aspect of Vishnu.
yeah, Swangsha is like a Vishnu Tattva, you know. And then we have Vibhinangsha, which is Jiva Tattva. Yeah, part and parcel, yeah. Yeah, we just had somebody by the name of Part here the other day, and his wife, Parcel. Uttama. Yeah. Now, so just let's keep that in mind. That, however, if you are pure in heart, you actually have the status of God, or the quality of God. The idea is to not be God, but have the qualities of God. To be godly, not to become God. Because people who are aspiring to be God, it's a very condemned position to be in. You don't want to be there. How dare any of us, the living entities, these Vibhanangshas say, I'm working on my meditation to become God. I was in South India, this is some years ago. I traveled with Dharma Prana, I was kind of taking him around. And I went to one particular temple, and I was looking at some inscribed things on an altar of Ramachandra. And the pundit there said, okay, these are the descriptions of Ram. And, he's implying that Ram is a man, a human. And these particular qualities of Ram, and his procedures, the steps he took, is what led him to become God. So he was a man, now he becomes God. And of course, I could not accept that. There's a real nice, let's say, essay that came out by Rabinder Swarup, one of our godbrothers. He's very intelligent. His writing is just impeccable. And he said, the title of the article is Yoga Mush and the Jerk Divine. And he was the temple president, and somebody came to him with a paper, like a paper like this. Posters, actually. Here's the poster. I grabbed these from some of the walls in town and said, "What are you going to do about this?" So Ravinder Swarup looked at it and said, "Okay, Jesus was a man and he became God, you know. Moses was a man and he became God. Buddha was a man and he became God. Krishna was a man, he became God. Now you are a man and you can become God. So what are you going to do about this?" So Ravinder Swarup, he went to the top. This was supposed to be an assembly of people, and some great so-called yogi was in town, and he was inviting everybody who was going to tell people how to become God, right? And then Ravinder Swarup, who's pretty bright and intelligent, after hearing from God, the guy who became God, he asked him, he challenged him. This fellow had been talking for a very long time, using all kinds of words to convince people that you can become God. So Ravinder Swarup put up his hand and protested in his own kind of cool and graceful way. And he refuted it all. And then the person who was speaking, words, they mean nothing. Like, in other words, he canceled out everything Ravinder Swarup was saying to counter the argument. Said, words, they mean nothing. Like, that's just a very poor way to get yourself to escape, take some kind of shortcut or just to evade the issue. But meanwhile, he had just been talking for a good hour with words. And that was okay, So Prabhupada actually takes pot shots and stabs at people who declare that you could become God. So we just don't want that. Durvasa Muni, he had a problem. He was part of the ecosystem. Everybody talks of the ecosystem. He was part of the ecosystem, yeah. And he was very determined to be who he is. He's a Brahmin. He's a Pandit. And he carries himself like that. And he's got lots of followers too. There's a lot to be said about people who follow, like fake gurus. And John Lennon was speaking to Srila Prabhupada about, what about fake gurus? And Prabhupada explained there's no such thing as a fake guru. Like, it's an oxymoron. If you go on, we have Bloor Street, you cross over the Don Valley, and it becomes, what's the name of the street? Bloor turns into what?
Yeah.
What is it? Danforth, yeah, Danforth. Now there's a tavern there called Noah's Tavern. Noah is, one of the great saints in the Jewish tradition, So how can Noah have a tavern? It doesn't make any sense. We had one very nice devotee, his name's Gaurav, Bhakti Gaurav. He had a Tesla. You remember him? Like a red Tesla? And he'd park in there, yeah. And he'd juice it up every night. one of our members said, "Oh, who are these people living here? Look at, they got a Tesla and they're using up all our energy, and I'm giving donations to the temple so he can have his Tesla." Anyways, he had a website, and it was called the Tesla Monk. I said, "You can't be a monk if you got a Tesla." Like it's an oxymoron, just they don't fit together. So Srila Prabhupada was basically saying that a guru can't be fake. If somebody is fake, putting on a facade, he's just not a monk. He's not a guru, let's put it that way. So guru is the real thing. So Durvasa Muni is a colorful character in the Vedic stories. You have to have somebody like that. Otherwise, it's not an interesting story. I mean, just like today, when you Prabhus came upstairs, we had an interesting character in the temple room, He put his little stones out on the floor, and I don't know what he had a knife, and, I could see it instantly when he was in the shoe room that I don't think this person is, like all there, if you know what I mean, wired a little bit strangely. So sure enough, it just makes your day kind of colorful. A few months ago, it was Harkumar and I were saying, we had another fellow like that. "I surrender myself to all the Hindu gods." And he said it really loud. Were some of you there at that time? "I surrender," I think it was a Monday or Tuesday. You missed all the fun. He just says, "I surrender to the Hindu gods." And, when he came close to me, I could smell the marijuana. And so God smoking marijuana. Okay, Shiva does some marijuana. Okay, all right, okay, I'll accept. But after that, Harkumar and I were looking at him, and, Harkumar never gets too animated. Like, he wouldn't roll his eyes like some of you might, And he said, "Well, we used to have at least one of those every 2 days coming to our temple. We don't get those anymore." But, so Durvasa is a very colorful character. And he does straighten us out a little bit. If he was to come into the room now, Durvasa, knowing the way he is, we would all straighten out like this. And we would practically be scared to breathe. Right? Because he'll find some fault, he'll point. He's a pointer. So on his journey, he's got a long way to go. He also became humbled with the Sudarshan Chakra after him. And the Lord fulfills his policy, which is, if someone gives trouble to my devotee, I will deal with the matter. I'll deal with it. That's Krishna's scheme. So he did with Durvasa. Durvasa had to do some straightening out, and that's the way it is. We're not Durvasa, but we have some kind of a dur. What's the word dur mean? Duryodan, dushasan. There's a problem with the people in that particular douche category. They are needing some help. Again, part of the ego system. So one of the reasons why we're here in the temple is to address the ego, edging God out, and ego, E-G-O, edging God out. We don't want to edge God out. We want to bring God in, right? That's the idea. And the way to do that is you have to do a work in. A lot of people are going for the workout. I'm going for a workout, can't you tell? Okay. But what about the work in? What about the inside? Like if you do both, that's great. But if you do one without the other, perhaps it's a problem there, right? We all want to be healthy so that we can serve Krishna nicely. And that's really the name of the game, to be healthy, wholesome, so that we can actually, serve the Lord and his devotees and his world in a nice way. So I want to be kind of faithful to our tradition. We're supposed to finish at 8:15 so that we can leave some time for your thoughts, okay? And your deliberations, your reflections, okay? Great.
Yes, Maharaj. So you briefly talked about how we should not we're all working towards that ego edging God out. So we all know that we are still working towards it. So we'll have some of it, and we'll have to deal with someone who will somehow have some of it. So how do we deal with someone? Yeah, and how do we deal with someone who has that kind of ego and we can.
That's a great. It's good to have somebody who's got a little bit egotistical around you, because then you learn patience, right? And you want to, you're hoping that that person will pick up on your patience, your tolerance, perseverance, and they'll learn from it and adopt it. Sometimes we hear people, it's quite common, I went through a very abusive life the way I was raised, and therefore I want you to feel sorry for me, and I deserve to have some money and all the, funds. You hear that kind of stuff. I'm the victim. Well, stop talking about being a victim. You had a chance. You went through some tough times. That's okay, but you need to get tough. And again, going back to the person who had everything, has got a relaxed life, gets complacent, that person is in trouble. But the person who actually had some toughness in their life, just see it from the right side, and learn from it and love it. I think that's the thing. Don't expect that everything's going to be perfect in this imperfect world. You're dreaming. Dream, 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 dream. Okay. You row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream. Well, it is. Here in this world, it's a dream. So, if there's some problems, live with it. Just eat it up, suck it up, as they say, and carry on. Learn from it. Learn the tough life. Hare Krishna. We have another hand up here. Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the great man. I have a question regarding today's class and yesterday's class also. So I heard a quote yesterday that the brighter the flame, brighter the flame, the darker the shadow.
Brighter the flame, darker the shadow.
Yes.
Okay.
And yesterday, one also gave one example that the more strength we throw the ball up, with the more speed it will fall down. And also in the same case that Maharaj Amrish, and if you say other example like Vishwamitra, Amrish Maharaj, and Duryodhan, so they were all doing the devotional service. Like Vishwamitra was doing services, he was also doing sadhana, tapasya. Maharaj Amrish was doing tapasya, and they were doing in all the fields. Maharaj Amrish is known for all of the 9 devotional service, right? So how can there is a chance of a fall down from that also?
You're asking, is there a chance for a fall down?
Yes.
Sure there is. Yeah, sure there is. And, I think that was clear in yesterday's class as well, that the worst thing you could do is to offend a person who's on the path of bhakti, to offend a devotee. And you were talking about the hati mata, the elephant offense, So there's nothing worse you can do. So do not mess up in that area. Of course, from another perspective, everyone's a devotee of the Lord, right? I think you have to see it like that, When I was a kid growing up, after a rainfall, and I was on my way to school, I'd see worms. I think, worms are gooey and ugly and slimy and yuck. So I would just, as a child, didn't know better. I would just step on them, try to divide them, squirt them up. I just deliberately, because the road was quiet, and what's called the Tecumseh Parkway, and it's still there. And I would step on them. Yuck! I didn't like them. So I was, without knowing, committing offenses, and yet they're devotees too. The earthworms do a great seva. They go in there and they break up the soil. So, you can grow things. Otherwise, it becomes hard clay and you can't do anything with it. So that's just try to see everyone's a devotee of the Lord, I mean, it's really hard sometimes. The mosquito that just sucked my blood like a vampire. Oh, you're a devotee. Go ahead. Come on. Come on, all of you. It's a little hard to see it that way. But even some devotees that are a little bit difficult sometimes, character-wise, you might want to just, Hare Krishna Prabhu, how are you? Please accept my humble obeisance. Well, I've got to go now. I can do some seva. There are people like that, in the devotee community. Durvasa is one of those. And it makes an interesting story, a good narrative, because you have, the black and white, if I can use that analogy, it's just juxtaposed. It looks, it's a lot of fun. But you have to have some, the strongest people are usually the ones that dealt with weakness. If somebody was violent towards you, and in some way psychologically or physically, maybe you learn to be tough, how to defend yourself. So it's okay. Everyone has a Durvasa Muni in their life. Just, hey, Durvasa, Haribol. Duryodhan, how's it going? We had an alpha rat, and I remember we had a real rat problem. We brought ferrets in to address the problem, and that rat was crawling through here, like that, and he had a bent leg, and he was we called him Duryodhan. And, so we learned to kind of not tolerate him. We had to deal with them, in the way that you must deal with rats and mice. By the way, I saw a mouse running from Govinda's to the dining room to the boutique last night, so they're around. Good questions. Anything else? Si, senor.
Yes. So Maharaj, you were talking about if you go through some hardships, some traumas or some physical kind of challenges, then you become tough. But then how to not become hard-hearted?
Well, through service. Well, you're subjected to these hard people. You also have to have a balance and subject yourself to the soft-hearted ones. Right. I think you have to have that mix. Because if it's all core hardness from every direction, you'll be a very traumatized person. You'll be very traumatized. It's like sometimes at home, you have two parents are there, and one is the good cop, the other one's the bad cop. You have that sometimes, right? In Prabhupada's life, his dad was soft, but the mother was kind of a little more hardcore. And it's okay. The balance you must embrace. The balance you must embrace. Does anybody know the story of The Sound of Music? What's that called? The family, famous singers. The Sound of Music? That's the most famous musical ever. Anyways, in the film, they show that this man whose wife died, he had a number of children, which was common, I think 7 or 8 kids. And this is a real life story, right story. He was actually kind of soft. And the mother, the second wife that he took in after the first one died, she was hard. But in the movie it shows she's very soft and he was very militant. But actually the real story, it's the other way around. Yeah. So it's not bad. Some of the kids are a little resentful because the mother, after the dad passed away, the mother was hard on them. They always booked them for doing shows all over. They never had a normal life. Some of them didn't get married, and so it became kind of messy in the end. Because one thing dominated. It's always nice to have the balance, right? So embrace the balance. And you know, matra sparshasta konti ashitoshna. Krishna says there's a balance. It's in the weather. Like this is crappy weather. My blog for yesterday, it was crappy weather yesterday. Crappy, like capital CRAPPIE. I got to understand the spelling. Crappy. Couldn't even go out and walk. It was just cold to the bone and just like, you know what I mean? Overcast the whole day, no break. Crappy. And so Krishna's stating that you have winter and summer seasons. They're like happy moments, sad moments. They arise from sense perception. It's only in our mind. That's what it's in your mind, really. So, but make the most of that crappy day. Do something valuable in the temple or whatever. You know, do something good, or even if you do run or walk through it, at least you stay warm. It's supposed to be crappy today, tomorrow, next day, I think. So embrace the dualities. It's not a bad thing. People sometimes complain about the weather here. Like many of our friends that live in tropics, they say, "Oh, you're from Canada. It's cold there, isn't it?" So, yeah, where you are, it's hot, isn't it? You know, they say it's like intensely hot. Yeah, you're right. Well, just, you know, get off my case. Okay? And about one thing is Vidura, he tells his older brother, go to the north. You know, after the war is over, so go to the north, go to the Himalayas, go where there's snow in the mountains. Take some austerity, right? That's where it's clean, pristine and clean. And so there's a few statements in the Bhagavatam where it sort of glorifies cold regions. All right, Prabhu, so thank you very much. We've gone a little over time, and